Ladies and gents, welcome to another incredible Beyond Six Figures, massively valuable live stream, guys. We have a lot to go ahead and make happen today. Let's go ahead and make sure we are fully live in here. All of our peeps can see. Absolutely. Very, very nice. All right. Now, first and foremost, guys, good to see everybody here. Hopefully you're enjoying yourselves. We have quite a bit to go through today with our event. We have Charles Nicolson here, one of our Beyond Six Figure students who's following the 8-figure group system and building massive consistency and scale within his company. And I want to make sure that not only, guys, do we actually get the time to go through exactly how he started, but you guys are also going to see really what the system is behind the scenes and how it really works, right? From someone's perspective who's really using it right now. What I want everyone to realize right now as well, if you're hopping on, focus, concentrate, stay here for a bit. We're going to go for like 35, 40 minutes. We want to make this bite-sized for you guys. Last time we went about 2.5 hours, I believe, right? We're going to make this 30 to 45 and just really make sure you guys are able to take it all in and make it happen as well. We're also here with my man, Nick Peroni, as always, as well. Nick, good to see you today. How you doing, brother?
What's up, everybody? Excited to be here with Charles because this, like Justin said, this is going to be really cool because you're going to get to talk to somebody else other than us and hear from somebody else's story about how they're using this in a really cool business model to basically make it happen. And I'm excited for this because you get to hear, somebody else's perspective on the inside of making this work, which I know is going to be super valuable for everybody.
I totally agree. And, one of the most important things here, guys, is actually listening to the points that Charles is going to bring up here, right? He didn't have any real particular startup idea for this particular business, right? And we started from scratch and we built it up to where he is now. And as you can see, Charles is an absolute stud. He has not only massive collectibles in the back, but also has been involved in many other different companies before, right? And is using this 8-figure group system. And it's one of the most incredible things he's seen. Charles, thank you so much for hopping on with us today, my friend. First and foremost, congratulations for your success using the 8-figure group system. And secondly, congratulations on your success within the business that you just built as well. And thank you for joining us today and really spending some time to give the people what they need and what they want. And it's that value to really make this work. How you doing today, Charles?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks, Justin, and thanks, Nick. Great to be here, and yeah, glad to share my story with the team so they can see what you can do together, basically.
For sure. Now, Charles, I'll walk you through. I'll actually ask some questions to kind of preface exactly where we're at right now. So, Charles, why don't you walk us through, what your history is, in the field of, e-commerce as well as marketing, service-based business, and where you came from, and ultimately what your past endeavors were, and what led to you building this service-based business that you are now operating today that's doing so well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, if we start with the background, so just in behind here, I've got these couple little characters. They were from a previous startup I had built, which ended up getting acquired by an overseas e-commerce business. And after selling that business, myself and my business partner from that company were trying to decide what we wanted to do next with our life, basically, where we wanted to grow up. And I, as a little side hustle for fun, had been working on the e-commerce program with Justin. Building my own Shopify store, and heard about the Empire program that you were working on. So decided to reach out because I was like, man, I'm loving the e-commerce program. What can we do together to start a new business? We knew that we wanted to do something in coding with our background, maybe something to do with e-commerce with our background. But that was about all we knew at the time when we first started working together. And it's really grown from there.
For sure. And one of the cool things, Charles, is not only were you in Beyond Six Figures e-commerce program, right, doing phenomenally well with building your own business from scratch because you actually had systems, but you then said, let's go ahead and see what else BSF has to offer. And you started using the 8-figure group system as you joined the Empire program, right? Now, we had no business at the time whatsoever. We were kind of saying, hey, what can we build from scratch? What can we actually go ahead and put forth? What skills do we have? What skills does Charles have that we can monetize, that we can build an experience around? Many people don't understand, ladies and gents, everyone listening right now, that you may not know that you have a particular skill or talent that you can monetize, right? And help other people do what that particularly is. There's a lot of people who want to achieve the skill that you already have. Right. And one of the main things is to realize that you should never really sell yourself short or cut yourself short. Right. You want to realize there's always room for potential and there's massive room for scale, no matter what it is that you're doing. So, Charles, walk us through the start up of actually saying, hey, let's build a coding service-based business. Because when you first joined the program, right, there was nothing. We said, hey, let's go ahead and put everything on the table. Let's see what we can do. And we decided to move forward with coding because you had a talent, you could code, right? And what we said is, let's use the 8-figure group system to put together a community as well as a service-based offering and experience, and not only help people be phenomenal at coding, but to also do coding projects for people as well that have resulted in you closing $25,000 deals, huge ticket deals, and making a great load of money right throughout this so far. So walk us through that, that kind of process in your head, how we came to that conclusion, and really how quickly did things get off the ground after you said, hey, I know exactly what I want to do. I have the 8-figure group system. Now let me execute.
Yeah, no, and I think like you absolutely nailed it there, and I think it's a really important point. Like we started from nothing. We had no social media to the point where like literally no social media accounts whatsoever. It wasn't like we had no following. Like we didn't even have like a TikTok account set up yet, right? Like we started from absolute zero. So yeah, no social media, no group, and really no offer at the time either. And like I say, we, one of my favorite exercises right up front was we did our big topic board together. Covered like 50 different topics of like, what are all the things that we can, that we have skills that we can teach people and educate people on. And for me, that was a really like eye-opening exercise, because when you're working in an industry, and I think like a lot of us are like this, right? Your industry becomes the norm to you. And so you forget like how much like expertise you maybe have, because you're sort of surrounded by people that are maybe like in the same industry, know the same sorts of things. But when we did that exercise and sat down and said, like, what are all the things that we have skills in that we could help educate other people and train and provide services for, we really kind of came up with some really great ideas on all of these things that, to us might seem like day-to-day normal stuff, but, was a huge amount of value that we could offer to other people.
Absolutely. And I feel like one of the coolest parts is that we custom created this from scratch, right? We custom build here at BSF, right? And that's one of the most incredible things, whether it's Nick or myself, right? We're building from scratch the entire company blueprint, the entire company foundation. And we're also helping build out the sales team, the sales structure, the lead acquisition flow, the assets, the community, the actual movement in the organic traffic, the SOPs, the marketing actual strategies, everything together from zero, right? And what's cool is fast forward a few weeks, how did lead flow look? And how much money did you spend on paid traffic to acquire that lead flow?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, I think like, I remember, I think within about a week of us starting doing a post on the Empire Suite group, that I was having about 200 conversations a day with people. Like this was from brand new social media channels.
Say that one more time for the people in the back, Charles. How many conversations were you having a day?
Yeah.
How many leads were you talking to a day with $0 spent on paid media from scratch, just using the 8-figure group system alone and nothing else?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, over 200 conversations a day just from
following
the process a day. Yeah, exactly. And this was all a massive part of learning, like what was our offering going to be. We were having these amazing conversations with people, and I think like that was one of the important things as well, that like, us working together, Justin, I remember you saying to me quite clearly, like, talk to everyone, like take every opportunity you can to talk to people, like even if they're not going to end up becoming a customer, get a feel for who they are, like what their needs are, what the pain points are you're going to be able to solve for them. And so we were having like all these conversations, and it was just like I say, with coding, it's such a broad industry. It's like, well, what direction do we go in? And those conversations every day, like you say, zero paid advertising. This was all coming off some organic content that we created together, and just getting all this like super valuable feedback around like what problems people were having in the market, what kind of solutions we might be able to provide them, that they'd be willing to pay for. Within, I would say it was less than 3 weeks, we had our first, which at the time seemed like a big deal, of 10K signed. Now the 10K deals are like the little ones that come in every week. And and now we're targeting the 100K, 150K and beyond deals every week.
And that's pretty cool. And Nick, I'll kind of let you touch on that, how quickly things can change when you have a system, right? That's one of the most important things to realize is when you have a particular system, you can actually achieve a goal quite quickly, right? So Nick, from start to finish, right? What's your opinion on like the speed of reaching that?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And I hope everybody like that's watching this, you realize how valuable that is just from, like he said, starting from nothing and then being able to, really use a system to harness the power of what's already there, social media that's already there. And I want to come back to this with you in a second, Charles, because I think this part is so valuable because it's the start. It's the beginning of, a couple weeks go by and you're able to start closing 10K deals and start now doing things much bigger when you started from scratch. And some people think it takes years to get to that sort of like be able to have that sort of lead flow coming in to be able to close those sort of deals. So that's amazing and really valuable for everybody to understand that using this, like from the content board to mapping out the strategy to getting started, like things can start happening quickly. And so from the point that you said, all right, you guys worked on, designing a custom offer, and then you did the topic board where you came up with these ideas of how you can educate and give value for the audience that you want to reach. What I'd love to hear next, because I think this will be really valuable for everybody, is then what were those first steps like of, actually starting to produce this content on the different channels that you set up, and then using, launching a Facebook group as a central hub that you were using to start building a community, and what that process was like, I guess, for the Facebook group part of it as it was getting started. Because I think that's really valuable for a lot of people here that may not have a Facebook group yet and may think of themselves as like, I've never really considered starting a Facebook group, which is maybe how you thought of it at first, and going through that setup phase the way you did.
Yeah, no, and I think the word you used there, which is super important, is consistency. I remember like I've got this whiteboard sitting here next to me just off camera. And Justin was like, I want you to write this down. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this is what you're going to do every single Monday, every single Tuesday, every single Wednesday. And that's what we did. We just planned out. And so it was like, these were the days we were shooting short form videos. These were the days we were shooting long form video. These were the times of the days where we were going to be out, like just kind of grinding and hunting for the next, where the next deal might be. But once again, it wasn't just like, I'm just going to throw you out into the wild and you go figure it out. Everything had a system in behind it, and everything was like, okay, today we're focusing on this part of the business, and this is where we're going to go looking for, the solution to whatever that day's kind of topic, challenge, whatever it may have been was. And I think to your point, yeah, we had no Facebook group at that point. I remember, setting up the Facebook group and sitting there looking at it with like me and one other person that had joined it, being like, how am I ever going to get this to thousands of people?
That's always like the worst in the beginning. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. But once again, and I think the other thing that you touched on there, Nick, is like, you mentioned creating value, and that's what it was about. Like the first phase was not about trying to sign a deal or sell something. It was like, get out there and create as much value as you can to attract the type of people that resonate with that value, and then encourage them to join your Facebook group. And that was what we did.
That's so amazing. And Charles, I love the way you break it down. It's really just following a system, guys. And when we say we custom build from absolute scratch, we're literally building your business from custom scratch, right? And when that happens and you start to see some consistent flow, you're realizing that, wow, I have a custom built business that is bringing in lead flow on autopilot, right? This is an asset that is worth something. Charles, you're a company, as we know, you can sell it right now. You have assets, you have things that are actually worth money, right? Not only that, but your consistent lead flow that's bringing in this cash flow every single month is worth something, right? So not only just building a business, not only are we constructing a proper movement and bringing in cash flow and doing great deals and helping people do what they need in terms of coding, you're building a business that is worth something, right? And you didn't spend $1 to go ahead and acquire these consumers. Isn't that wild? Yeah. That's something that, excuse me, that's something that's so wild. And people in the e-commerce space, well, I come from e-commerce. as we know, drop shipping, physical product, right? It's hard to believe that you can get this type of return, get this type of lead volume without spending money, right? So first and foremost, I feel like it's about breaking that glass ceiling, right, in a lot of our heads, that realizing like, look, if you have a service-based business and that's what you're trying to rock with, it's not the same as running paid traffic. It's quite different. It's completely different.
Yeah, and I think like, so in my previous businesses, we spent a lot of money on Facebook advertising, Google advertising, all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, like I really hated it. Like I hated the fact that I was so like stuck with them. Like my lead flow depended on how the Google algorithm went for that week, and I know like coming into this business, that was one of the first things I remember saying was like, I don't want another business that relies on Google advertising for lead flow. Like whatever we do, it has to be a system that's going to keep bringing in leads every week without me handing over more money to Google. And
Right.
that, like I think that was one of the big things that attracted me to the program in the first place was, like everything that we talked about when we talked about the program originally was like, we're going to do this without the need for paid advertising. And that's exactly what we've done.
Right. And 200 leads a day, that's no joke. That's
major.
Right?
Yeah.
That's no joke. And that's not something that should just go without saying, right? Like that's just not normal. That's not normal, right? And it is not the norm. And that's why I'm happy that not only have we been doing this for like the past 7+ years, right? We have 10+ groups with 1 million+ people across these groups. But realizing it's consistent. It's not just one day. And it's because you're compounding your efforts, right? When you're so consistent with compounding the effort, Charles, you see it firsthand. It's almost I don't want to say it is, but it's almost bulletproof, right? Because when you just compound those efforts over a daily and weekly and monthly and yearly basis, you can't stop it in one day. You have to almost try to stop it. You have to try to hurt the business. So that's one of the most incredible things to realize and go to bed realizing is, wow, my company is getting 200 leads a day and I just touched the tip of the iceberg only. And I didn't spend $1 on ads. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. And what's even more amazing too, is that your industry is competitive. It's a competitive industry there. It's not only competitive, but it's a hot trending industry over the last, year, 2 years. I mean, learning coding skills and programming and development is very competitive these days. So to be able to start and come up with a topic board and a content plan and just say, all right, I'm doing it, and just start doing it and then start seeing those results. I mean, number one, testament to you and what you've been out there doing every day, which is fantastic. And also I think it should be like a wake-up call for a lot of people. Like if you just stick to a system, you really can start to move the needle quicker than you think. Because that's what it takes, really, just the daily consistent effort of continuing to put it out there in a strategic way.
Right. And I think what's super cool, I mean, what's unique to BSF, right, is the fact that we have systems for everything. So Charles, when you were in our e-commerce physical product program, scaling the business that we built there, you did exceptionally well there too, right? And now you're in the service-based program doing exceptionally well here also, right? Because there's systems. Right? There's no concept or crap or throwing stuff at the wall hoping it sticks. It's just following a proven methodology and making sure it's actually followed to a T. Right? And that goes to show what we do here at Beyond Six Figures is battle tested and it's system driven. Right? And that's one of the most important things that we pride ourselves on here, guys, is actually having a proven game plan to do it the correct way. So you're not wasting money, doing things wrong, wasting time, even worse, right? And actually having real forward movement in what you're doing and seeing movement where the rubber meets the road. Right. And that's ultimately what happens when you follow a proven system and you're consistent with it. Success isn't really an option. You can achieve it if you actually commit to it. You just got to stay consistent with what you do. And when you have a system like this and an offer to match, I mean, it's very, very hard to not do well if you're actually motivated to do well. Right. And Charles, walk us through. Okay. So you're starting to get leads. You got 200 leads a day. Is that consistent or is that one day? Like walk us through, like, is that actually consistent day after day after day? Because a lot of people are thinking right now, oh, you probably got 200 leads like once. They did a post, a promo.
Yeah.
What's the consistency day to day to day, like to this very morning?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I can remember like there was a night where my phone was just like buzzing all night long. And that night was the night I decided to turn notifications off between certain hours every single day
Amen.
because I just got like so sick of every night my phone was just buzzing like crazy. And that was, like you don't do that because it happened for one day, right? Like one day was exciting, day two was still kind of exciting, but like about 4 weeks later, when your phone's going crazy all night, it's like, yeah, no, we got to turn this off. um, and so, yeah, like, and I think like I wanted to touch on a point you raised there. I think when you're first starting a business, it can be really easy to flounder, right? Like it can be really easy to not know what to do, not know the next step. And like to your point about the systems, there was not a day that I woke up that I didn't know what I needed to do, right? Like every day there was a system or a process or like, okay, once we know that this system's working, here's the very next system we're going to implement. And yeah, I think in terms of through to today, um, we scaled those leads back? Yes, but we've done it on purpose because now, we
Mhm.
we know like exactly who our target market is. We know exactly the type of people that when they see our offer, there's no uh, there's no process for like them asking about what is the program and how's it going to work and all that. They're exactly the right client profile, and so we shortcut the sales process a whole lot.
That's
And
amazing.
so I'd say to your point, like, yeah, we purposely scaled back the leads in a way, but we scaled them back to super quality leads now.
Good problem to
So
have. And that's the name of the game. Kind of run it up, get crazy flow, and do your
mm,
thing and optimize. I think that's
yeah.
incredible, Charles. Right? And if you had to speak to someone right now, maybe Charles, maybe someone stuck at $0, right, didn't start yet, or someone stuck at 10K a month in their service-based business, what's your advice to them to genuinely break through? Because you've broken through, you've tapped unlimited leads like tap water without spending money. That is breaking the system, right? And that's what we've done with BSF, and that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years with all these groups. Now people are catching on, which is awesome, right? So now it's time that we go ahead and walk people through how to actually do this the right way. Right. So what would you go ahead based off your experience, what you've seen with Beyond Six Figures, the program, your business that we built? What's some of your biggest pieces of advice for someone at 0 or at 10K a month trying to make a breakthrough? And what would that advice be?
Yep. Yeah, so that's a great question. I think the first thing in terms of thinking of some of my learnings going through the program together, one was, to be super open-minded up front, like not coming in with a closed mindset of this is what I want to do. The market's going to tell you what they need you to do. And so if you can go out with a really open mind, put out lots of value, as we said, around the areas that you can help people and get that market feedback. And I think that's a really important point is get that market feedback. A big part of what we did together, and the reason why I was having those 200 conversations a day was, we tested lots of different angles in terms of like what kind of messaging resonates with people.
Mhm.
And I think it's very easy to come in and say like, no, we've made up our mind. This is what we're doing. This is what we're good at. Um, but like the market might not be ready for that. The market might not be interested in it. And I think, like to your point, Nick, around coding, like you jump on Google, like how many software developers are out there? How many like Shopify experts are out there in terms of like Shopify development and all that kind of stuff, right? And that was one of my big worries coming into this. Like I came from a business previously where we had like a super tight niche. We knew exactly who our target market was. And now I'm going into this industry called coding that like there's a million other coders out there. So how am I going to differentiate myself? And the honest answer is the market told me how to differentiate myself. We put heaps of value out there, and we just saw what resonated. And yeah, I think in terms of advice, that's one of
And
the biggest splits I can give.
that's amazing, Charles. That's amazing. And walk us through giving value. What does giving value mean? How do we give value?
Mm. Yeah, so I think this also for me was like a bit of a learning curve in terms of, to give value, you really need to look at it from like how can I help, like by the time somebody's like viewed my content, read my post, whatever it may be, how do they walk away and like maybe implement something that creates value for them with like no expectation that anything's going to come back to you. It's like
Mhm.
there was no like um call to action at the bottom of the post that said like buy my program or join my Facebook group or anything like that. You know, it was quite literally like, how do I put value out into the market that, you know, people that are in my niche are going to look at, and by the time they've consumed that content, they're going to want to go away and do something, whether it's in their Shopify store, whether it's in like a custom app that they want to build, or their own startup that they kind of create. And you know, once again, in the systems that we put together, I was confident I could put out that kind of value and people would still find their way back to me. They'd still find their way back to my Facebook group. They'd still find their way back to my social channels. So I didn't have to feel like I had to have this like really hard sell in any of my content.
Yeah, that's
so. And
Justin,
Nick, Nick, definitely touch on this. I remember when we started running this system years and years and years ago, right? Nick, you used to drop massive value posts. I used to do the same, right? And that would be really what we still do to this day, right? Is just give out value with not asking for return. Nick, walk us through, based on Charles' point there, really how to give value without asking for something in return. And that's the difference maker, actually being a true man of value, a true woman of value, actually caring about the people who are looking at what you're putting out there. That's the difference. That's the difference. Nick, walk us through that, Charles. That was amazing. And I feel like Nick is such an integral example of that. And you both have done so exceptionally well, right? And that's why both the companies that you guys have ran have scaled to what they have done.
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic explanation of value, Charles. And what you said, Justin, difference maker, is such a great word, because like Charles said, you go into an industry that's competitive. I mean, almost every industry is competitive nowadays, right? 2 billion people on Facebook every month. So, you know, everybody's out there doing something. There's a lot of people trying to build an online business. And the difference maker are the people that go out there and give without expectation. You know, obviously we're in this to build a business, but that part that Charles said, giving without the expectation of receiving something right away, that really is what giving value is. You're going out there and you know that some people are going to want to work with you and be interested at a higher level, but that's not what you're directly expecting. You're just trying to serve this audience with stuff that you know is going to help them in some sort of way. And that's really what value is. And that's different for every industry, right? It's different for somebody who's teaching e-commerce, or someone who's teaching coding, or somebody who's teaching how to have better relationships, right? Like there's so many different ways that can apply, but you're finding that one area, not like everything, but you're finding that one area that you know that you can directly help somebody or teach them something or help them get some sort of result. And that's what you're focused on in that area. And so the other thing that I think directly connects with that I want to say, because Charles said it so beautifully, but I want to make sure everybody's picking this up because it was kind of subtle, is that the Facebook group is what helps this work so well. So when you guys are thinking about this in terms of, you see it working for Charles and this idea of giving value and using the group, the reason that this works so well as a system too is because people are naturally going to want to join your community. And that's why that's such an easy first step, because it's very low friction, right? They're getting value, and then they're like, yeah, why would I not want to be part of this community if it's something that's important to them, it's valuable to them? And so you don't need to go chasing them, because once they join your community, now they're in your central hub and they're part of that. And so you're just out there continuing to deliver value and do your thing at the highest level. And then naturally, you know, some of these people, not everybody, right? But some of these people who are the ideal prospects are going to come back to you with interest in some sort of way. And so, yeah, I mean, I thought that was a fantastic breakdown. And that's really why this whole value and using a group as your central hub works so well together, because you're able to build a community without having to chase people and then just continue consistent output.
100%. And to kind of capitalize on that, guys, having a community is needed, right? Because you need to have a central home or a central hub or a nucleus of your business. So many people don't have a nucleus. So many people have random funnels, random websites, random places that they bring their individuals to. And it's a messy business. And a messy business is not a business that makes money. Maybe a messy business is a business that'll make money on Monday, but it won't make money on Friday, right? You need to make sure that it's consistently built in a way where you have a nucleus, right? Where you know where the central hub or the central, community of the business is. And that for many businesses is Facebook groups, right? And that's going to be a huge deal for a lot of the service-based companies out there. And you want to implement this. Now, we're approaching the 30-minute mark here, guys. So I want to make sure that we get this into a bite-sized amount for you guys to go through. Now, Charles, if there's one piece of advice, again, that you had to give, to somebody and, they had to succeed. If this person didn't succeed, right, it's a problem, right? What is one piece of advice that you would give them to almost ensure that they could that they can succeed with their service-based business? Something that's, tangible and a genuine, proper piece of advice that you don't think you could do it without.
Yeah. So I think like one thing that was really eye-opening for me was, like in the age of social media, we all get used to seeing these like big influencers that have like massive followings and like millions of video views and all that kind of stuff. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I've got a video on YouTube right now that I think, if I'm lucky, is up to 60 views. That one video got me over $100,000 worth of contracts.
And that's such a good point. Don't look at the vanity metrics.
So good.
We know there's people with millions and millions and millions of viewers and subscribers, and we are making a lot more than those individuals, right? Because we understand the power of a system. Charles, go deeper on that. That's incredible. 60 views, 100,000. It's about actually nurturing the people who are watching you and not trying to go for the next person.
Yeah. And like you said, it's like, don't get hooked on the vanity metrics. If you're putting that value out there, you're speaking directly to your target audience. You don't need millions of views and, this massive community. You just need to hit the right people with the right message. And like I say, like 50 views on YouTube is nothing, but you wouldn't look at that video now and say that's made him over $100,000, right? And that's why I say it's so important. Don't get hooked on those vanity metrics. Just focus on that true value content that speaks directly to your target audience. And the money will follow.
I think that's absolutely incredible.
That's so good. Yeah.
It's really, main pillars to this is actually put out value. Don't expect in return, be consistent, right? And actually have a game plan and a system with what you do, right? And if you marry all those things together, you can do very, very well in this business, right? That's the most important thing. Keep that in mind. And I think that was well said there, Charles. And, one thing I want to let everyone know as well, okay, is you don't have to underestimate yourself if you don't get many views. I'm telling you, people who make a lot of money, right? They're probably making a lot more. If they're making real money, they're probably making more than people with millions of views. So don't look at someone with views thinking they make the most. I'm telling you, it's not the case. It's usually the opposite. It usually is the opposite. So, Charles, amazing stuff here today, my friend. Thank you for joining us. Nick, this has been definitely a great walkthrough and great explanation just to how the system works in general, right? And how Charles has been able to implement this in his own business to actually have real consistency, gain 200 leads plus a day, right? And actually have real consistency in the business, real cash flow, and not just worry about, consistency on, views or metrics like that, but actual lead flow inbound is so important. So Nick, I'll let you kind of, cut us off there as well. We'll take it a step further.
Yeah, this was so good. I mean, so many good takeaways in here as we went through this, Charles, from you, man, from everything that you told us and shared with us about how you built this alongside, with Justin from the start. There were really, listen, guys, if you just kind of jumped in at the last couple minutes, definitely go back and watch the entire replay, because this really was in 30 minutes, like a complete walkthrough of how Charles started with a brand new idea, brand new business based on a skill that he had, and then custom built an offer, started making a content plan, went out there, found the consistent system, and then just started doing it. And, a couple of weeks later, he's closing 5-figure deals and now closing 6-figure deals. I mean, it's like one of the best case studies of how this works when you actually do the work that I've heard. And so I love it, man. Thank you for being on here and sharing all that really good stuff.
And Charles, any last minute words you want to tell to the people to kind of set them off with to kind of move forward and execute what we've been talking about today?
Yeah, I think the big thing, one thing I want to say, I'm still in all of the Empire Suite group. So if anybody's watching and has some more questions that comes out of this, I'm more than happy to jump into the group and answer questions as well. The door's open there. Feel free to reach out if you've got more questions about the program. And yeah, I think,
Charles, where can they find you if we need some coding done?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, thanks to my content plan, you can basically find me everywhere: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you like. But yeah, I think I mean, I've got my own Facebook group now as well, which is all about building startups and coding. So just hit me up on Facebook, look me up. And but yeah, I think the kind of parting wisdom is, yeah, consistency and just really create a plan and systems that that you can follow to build your business, rather than just trying to make it up as you go.
100%. And, guys, Charles is one of the many examples of people who have built massive companies just from following this completely from scratch. If you're someone who has any interest at all in using the 8-figure group system and wants my help along with Nick to go ahead and build custom for you, feel free to leave a comment later and go ahead and message us, whatever you like. Reach out to us at some point, and I'm sure we'll get into a conversation. Again, Charles, thank you so much for actually hopping on here to walk through the experience of using the 8-figure group system. And one of the most important things is staying consistent and actually having a true care for the people and giving out value and not always expecting in return. So great stuff there, my friend. And guys, definitely hit up Charles. He's a phenomenal coder, has a great staff on his hands as well. Highly recommended. And with that being said, ladies and gents, as we see, I'm losing sunlight back here. We got to call this one. And Nick, Charles, amazing stuff as always, gents. We'll continue to drive value into this group. We'll do some more lives as well in the near future. Charles, we'd love to have you back. Nick will even have some other people who have done phenomenally well, so that people can see the different niches and markets that people are crushing it with this system as well. And, I've been hustling and working all day, and, I'm losing my voice now as well. Looks like I better get to bed now or something. But I love you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy it. And if anyone needs anything from myself, Nick, Charles, reach out. We're always here for y'all. And we're just literally a few button clicks away, guys. So have a good rest of your day. Enjoy it. And we'll see you guys soon.
Awesome.
Hey, good night, guys.
Thanks,
bye, guys.